wanted to move anything else up under transportation to start construction next year. And I can quickly identify what those projects are. So specifically, I think the three or four joint projects between the city and the EDC that are not in construction yet, aside from the recently determined 132-1, is T15, which is the Exchange intersection. That's going to be a roundabout, and then the Live Oak intersection and extension. So the Exchange intersection is effectively finished with design. We're just waiting on right-of-way acquisition. There's currently not construction funding included in next fiscal year, so that's an option if you all would like to move that up. We also have T18 and T19. T18 is CR 163. T19 is CR 199. And then the last one is T21, which is Alliance Boulevard. Those three that I just listed, you all previously elected to design and then shelve. So I fully recognize that, sorry, there may not have been an intention to immediately go to construction, but I wanted to illustrate those for you all in case you wanted to have that discussion. And I'll leave it there.
Well, I'd be living in that area. I'm not going to say I know everything about traffic flows, but I'd be very interested if we could go ahead and do the Exchange roundabout. We could do the Live Oak extension with the signal, and we could do a portion of Alliance. I think that would suit a lot of people better this year than Limmer Loop being improved is my personal thing. But
I agree with that.
it's just if we move that, my only requirement for me is that those are actually going to be bid and go into construction very quickly, because if we're sitting here this time next year and it's like, well, we had a right-of-way issue, or we hope to get this start, but something came up, I would be very disappointed, because it'd be another year with no road. But that'd be three major road projects that people would see, and that's all they really want is progress. And in Limmer Loop, I mean, honestly, once we put the northbound Ed Schmidt right turn in, traffic kind of went away up there. I mean, it's still busy, but the complaints all went away, and obviously that's going to be needed in the future. It may be a year or two away, so I'm not saying we're kicking it down the road. But Live Oak extension would dramatically take traffic off of 79, in my opinion. And then if you're going to do that, you might as well do the Exchange roundabout also, because otherwise you're just pumping a lot of traffic through an intersection that's not built for it.
As far as the Live Oak goes, we're expecting a supplemental to engage Kinley Horn at the August 20th meeting, and then that design is expected to be completed by the start of the new year. So it'll be calendar year 27 when we're going out to bid for it, but I'm just clarifying that.
Two of us spoke. Any, you guys over here? Councilmember Zepeda, Thornton? Don't want to drag the meeting on. It sounds like everybody's okay.
So confirming that was the Live Oak extension project, the Ed Schmidt project, and then part of the Alliance expansion. Would you like us to determine what part?
Yeah, what I brought up with that, I was just talking to the city manager about that. I've been using that road a lot lately, and it seems to me the majority of the traffic is whatever the road that Ironwood built.
Parker, I think it's called.
Parker, from Parker south seems to be the traffic. People are using it to go to Hookie and Academy. And then you go north of that, at least today, there's not a lot. And it also appears that would be the major cost, is going to be the northern part of that road widening, because now we're getting into detention ponds, drainage ditches, and big time elevation. Before that, it's just, I'm not trying to oversimplify, but it's just simple drainage systems that got to be put in. And we don't have the elevation. The right-of-way looks to be appropriate. And then as you go north, it looks like we run into right-of-way issues. So I figure what I was telling the city manager, if the plan's already done, I don't think there's anything that stops you from building half of something. You just know that at some point we're going to have to come back and build the other half. And in that way, we get the bulk of the work done. Because I keep trying to figure out how do we take a $10 million project and make it 5 million? Or how do we make a 5 and make it 3? And are we spending 10 million when we could fix the issue for the first few years? Are we spending 10 on really a $2 million issue? And can we do a $2 million fix today? And knowing costs will go up, but that frees up 7 million maybe more for 2 or 3, like this Limmer Loop. We can knock out 3 projects, you're saying, next year in exchange for one that really may not even be warranted today. It'd be nice to have it caught up and done ahead of time, but I don't think we can get to that point until we first get the stuff we already should have had done. But
Do we need a motion on that?
yeah, we're gonna need a motion on that.
Is that your motion then? Whatever you said.
Yeah, I'll make
Yeah, so you would be moving the T15 from fiscal year 27-28 to fiscal year 26-27. And then you would be moving Live Oak Reconstruction, which is T09. T46. Oh, okay. You'd be moving
6 and what?
T79 combined. Intersection at Edge Schmidt to the end of Live Oak. That's the extension over there. I was looking at the one that's for downtown. So T70, T46, T79. Now you would be moving $7 million out of fiscal year 27-28 into fiscal year 26-27. And
the
then
Limmer Loop would be moved out.
Limmer Loops you would be moving out, correct?
And
So
what
you'd move
projects are
both of those. That's T47, T48. Those would move to year 3, fiscal year 28-29.
So from 28 to 29.
Correct.
Thank you.
From budget year 2 to budget year 3
Right.
on the spreadsheet.
Right.
And then, yes,
Are you sure you want to move those one more year? Because I already moved them 1 year from our last discussion. So they were sitting in year 1, 26, 27. Based on our last council meeting, we moved it to year 2, 27, 28. Now, assuming that design is through in March.
okay, so you moved those out, but you did not move things in.
Correct.
Okay, so those are already moved out then.
Right.
Okay, so then my motion would be just move T15, T46, and T79 into the 26, 27.
And then the Alliance expansion, if you wanted to do that one, you need to move that up from year 3 to year 1.
And that's which one?
T1.
21.
Okay, so T15, T46, T79, and T21 to move up to 26, 27 years.
Yeah, yes, sir, that's correct.
All right, so that'll be my motion.
Second.
Second by Mayor Pro Tem Porterfield. And City Manager, you're confident each one of those projects will be in construction this time next year?
Yep, or I'll quit. How about that?
That's on record, sir.
I know.
Okay.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Because I will be sharing out, people. Like
I know.
I can tell you, we're either in a city manager search, or you're going to have 4 road
You're
projects.
going to have some roads under
He
construction.
has it tattooed on his shoulder, so it's.
I get to control what the definition of starting means, though. So
But I like that. I like the way
put the hard hat on. I'm out there with a
Yeah, I like the way this budget
fix
is
it started.
All right, please call the vote.
I have a question of clarification,
Oh.
please. Somebody mentioned $7 million for 46 and 79. Is that the total amount, or are you just moving 7 million?
They're moving 7 million into budget year 1. So there's currently 900,000 there already. So it'd be a total of 7.9 million total.
Okay. So that will reflect in the motion in the minutes. Just wanted to clarify that.
And that was for which one?
T4679.
46%. Thank you.
6 and 7.
All right, yep, ready.
Hold on.
Can I make a clarification before you?
Sure.
So, based on this motion that you're fixing to make, up here, when we pushed the Limmer Loop out, we would not have any planned debt issuance. But based on, this amount, I'm just roughly figuring these projects total about 14 million, less the about 4 million that we have cash on hand from old or prior issuances. will now need to issue debt again back to around 10 or 11 million, like we originally talked about at the prior meeting. Just want to clarify that.
Okay.
Okay.
Figure out how to work on that on the next item on the agenda.
Okay, got it.
Mayor Snyder,
Aye.
Councilmember Zepeda,
Aye.
Councilmember Morris,
Aye.
Councilmember Reynolds,
Aye.
Councilmember King,
Aye.
Councilmember Thornton,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Porterfield.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0. All right, next that brings us to item 4.2,
Well,
discussion.
Mayor, before you move, do we want them to adopt the CIP now, or is that going to come again later?
Let me do it all at once.
I would prefer they adopt it now.
Can you just move to adopt the CIP as presented now with those edits?
Are we gonna do any others? Are we gonna be looking at any
I would
other?
rather wait to see, until we see the budget,
Okay.
because if the budget's like really tight and we can't figure out how to come up with $10 million in May.
Yeah, you're not going to find $10 million in the general fund
Had to
budget.
push.
We're gonna have to borrow that
Yeah.
10 to 11 million.
You might find 20 or 30 grand, but you ain't finding 10 million. I can guarantee that.
ERPS savings and loan.
Yeah.
All right. All right, so item 4.2, discussion possible action on proposed fiscal year 27 budget.
Let's get the presentation shifted back over.
Starting with comments or discussions that were made at the last council meeting as to what our funding capacity was. So looking at last year's budget presentation, we made the statement that the no new revenue debt limit would be about 29.5 million. But that was assuming a 10% taxable growth rate. Okay? So this next slide shows what our historical taxable growth rate has been. So you can see in 22, we had a huge increase. That was about a little over 46%. In 23, that dropped down to almost 18, a little less than 18%. In 24 and 25, you can see there at 12, 9, and 11 and a half. So in 25 and in 26, when we're talking about 10%, that seemed reasonable based on where we were for the last prior 2 years. But you can see there in 26, when we got our certified values at 5.8 billion, that is a 1.4% increase, not a 10. So that drops our funding capacity by a bit.
So we dodged a bullet by not doing that last year.
I'm sorry, say again?
We dodged a bullet by not just going out and willy-nilly borrowing $30 million. Because had we done that and then the projections came in,
If you had done that, then even with the decrease, your INS basically becomes necessary. So if we would have been if we were to adopt no new revenue, the M&O would have had to plummet in order to keep it equal.
that's what I'm saying.
So, yeah, so
That would
yes.
have been a major issue.
Yeah. Or we would have not done no new revenue, one of the two.
So just quick answer though, but is there any reason why, the projection would have been possibly higher that we did not, we only got 1.4%?
Be-
Yes, the main reason is that our current or existing property values did not increase.
So just assessments.
Assessments
of it-
decreased.
of it. So it wasn't like we lost something or something we were anticipating to come in?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
So in this slide, we're trying to show the funding capacity. And in 26, we started with a certified value at the 5.7 billion. Here, we assumed a 10% increase would have been at 6.3 billion. The revenue we would have had from INS would be about 9.4, less our debt payments. We would have had a capacity of about a little over 2 million, which would afford us to borrow about 29.5 million without raising the rate, is what we stated in the prior year. Looking at where we're at now, our certified values at 26 are the 5.8 billion. The revenue from that is a little over 8 million, less our debt payments. We have a debt capacity of about 1.2 million or about 14 million without raising the rate.
Okay, so we can issue 10 million and not raise rates.
No, not with the proposed budget, you can't.
Okay.
If we have to increase our debt service this year, our current M&O is not built off of that.
Right, but it's gonna be 10 to 11 million, which would be under the 14 million, we would not need to raise the rate.
Sounds like there's a chance.
This would keep our IMS rate the same, we would not have to adjust.
The same as what it is right now.
Right.
But you projected your M&O revenues that you budgeted the general fund against using the lower debt service for the year. So if your debt service goes up, then the amount of money that you have on the general fund side for M&O goes down.
That's correct, but again, that won't happen until 28.
So you're saying you wouldn't issue the debt to make the debt service payments this year?
Correct.
So-
No debt payments would occur in 27.
Okay, so the reason that matters is because if we do issue the debt and the debt service goes up next year, and we have to reduce the M&O by 1.2 million next year in order to have no new revenue, then we have effectively right around how much in fixed assets one-time purchases this year?
It's over $500,000.
I think it's a little bit more than that.
Well, and then the other, so it was almost $1 million, about 900.
Yeah, I think it's right at $1 million we have for one-time expenditures this year. So if we were to do this and we did no new revenue next year, we would likely be needing to reduce the M&O side of the general fund, not one-time expenses, but actual like operation expenses by roughly $200,000 or $300,000.
All right.
Okay,
It's just a conversation.
I hear you, but I just want to make sure people understand what the conversation is.
Yeah.
So.
So here's comparing our certified values for this year to prior year. So our certified values came in at 6.3 million. Under protest, the 102 million almost, which put our taxable value at that 5.8 billion is what we receive, that we base our revenues off of. This budget is worked around the no new revenue tax rate, which is the 39.7011, call it 40 cents. The voter approval rate would then be the 42.8517 or 43 cents. The revenue generated from the certified value or the taxable value is 16,348,414, which gives us every 1 cent of about 583,000. So here is showing one of the questions that came up a few minutes ago, showing on this first line 26 that graph, that bar, in the red is our existing properties, and so you can see there the value of those have gone to the negative versus increasing. And that's the bigger or the major change for this year's values.
Yeah, so the only reason we ended up 1.4% was because of new growth for the most part, because the existing properties all declined in valuation.
Yeah, I think this is the first year, I always argue that the people who, the elected bodies who effectively raise tax bills, but then always say, we didn't raise your tax bill, the value of your house went up, caused it, and that's why your rate went down, but yet your bill went up. This may be the first year where they have to then explain to people how they're raising the rate, just in an effort to even get the same revenues last year. They're more likely going to have to raise their rates. And so the people who usually do the voter approval rate, I mean, they could be going up dramatically, and then they have to explain to people, how come why'd you vote the rate to go up? Whereas we're able to tell people, we've always told you the rate, don't pay attention to the rate, pay attention to the bill. But it's going to be an interesting year for a lot of, I think for a lot of elected bodies as they get through this summer.
And so that, which brings out a good point that I didn't mention, is that no new revenue tax rate of the 39.7011 is the rate that we would have to set to generate the same amount of revenue that we have this current year.
Yeah.
Good point there. So moving to sales tax, no change from what we presented back in June. We are still proposing a 3% for 27. And we do not have any updates on the taxpayer that we haven't received payments from yet, so we're still working through that. So moving to personnel, maybe just a few changes here. We have currently 211 approved positions. We have about 17 vacancies currently. In the 27 budget, we've proposed still just the 3 new positions. We have 14 reclassifications, and 1 position was eliminated. Our total FTEs for 27 would be 213.
I have a question, if you can go back a slide. I have a question regarding the one elimination. Is that because nobody filled that position?
No, it's more of,
No, this is, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
This is one of the building inspector positions. It is vacant, but because the workload has declined, we don't need to refill it.
Okay.
So we're not laying anybody off. We're simply using attrition to save budget.
And I think that's important for everybody who's watching this to understand that.
Right.
Because, last year, I remember the hot button was, you guys are laying people off, when that wasn't necessarily the case. So a little bit of education here goes a long way.
Yes, sir.
So here are the 3 new positions, no change from the June presentation. We have the 1 in parks maintenance, 1 in police, and 1 in strategic operations. The reclassifications are these here. The main reason for these reclassifications is to address employee turnover and incorporate some career progression within the departments overall. Here are 2 we didn't include in June was the declassifications where in HR we had a position as an HR manager. We are proposing it be an HR coordinator. And then in strategic operations, of course, director of strategic operations is now the assistant city manager. And so that position that he's vacating would become a strategy and innovation manager. So talking in the general fund in summary overall organizational wide, again, it is based on a new revenue tax rate. We did include a step increase of about 2.5% for employees effective January 1st. We did include a TMRS option, which is a buyback of service credits. Included health insurance, same as before at 9.9%. That's in our contract. We standardized the clothing, training, and travel. We increased fuel costs based on the current economy and condition now. We consolidated software. Anything over 5,000 is now housed under the IT department instead of being in each individual department. We've added certification pay for non-sworn employees. We're replacing 9 vehicles, and we've added the special response team van. That was a discussion in June. So here is a list of the current general fund vacancies. Unless there's any questions, move on. This is the list of vehicles that are being replaced. No change from what was presented earlier. The majority of them are the police interceptors. Running through the departmental changes. City council, no changes as far as personnel and fixed assets. Operationally, we increased the outside agency funding based on the 1% of general fund revenues is now $373,011. 25,000 of that is for Hope Alliance. 29,355 is a reserve for the Williamson County Advocacy Center. 118,213 is for the Williamson County Health District. Is that right?
Yes.
Did I say that And then 210,443 is available for the grant, which you'll have a discussion on, at workshop next week. City manager's office, there was no changes, personnel or operational fixed assets. City secretary, we did include, additional funding for elections. Communications, we have a couple reclasses and no changes operationally. Community services, no changes to personnel and fixed assets. We did add operationally Hippos, helping Hippos, and a software be with for the volunteer hub. Construction inspection, there was a request, 2 requests for personnel. Those were not funded, and operationally, there's no change. Development services, here we did some reorganization, reclassification, I guess, from deauthorizing the vacant building inspector. We reclassed the building inspector to having a building inspector 1, 2, and a senior inspector, again, which allows for progression and retention within that department. With economic development, no changes, either personnel, fixed assets, operational. Same with emergency management, no change there. Engineering, no changes. Facility maintenance had a request for a new technician. That was not funded. We did include an expense for the HVAC here at City Hall, making those improvements, and we are replacing a vehicle within that department. Finance, personnel and fixed assets, we have a reclass of a compliance accountant to an accountant and compliance manager. And we're asking for software for our ACFR, Annual Comprehensive Financial Report. No changes operationally. Moving to fleet maintenance, no changes there. HR, there was no changes to personnel and fixed assets. Operationally, we did increase employee tuition reimbursements and that program and how it operates as a whole, and expanded the supervisor academy. IT, in personnel and fixed assets, we've included computer replacements in the fixed asset fund. We did not fund the core network refresh. That's something that we felt that could be handled probably next year. So you'll see that probably coming forth again. And then a reclass of the IT security administrator to an enterprise systems administrator. Operationally, again, we consolidated all the software within IT, and we increased our data protection. Library, operationally, no change, no changes to fixed assets or personnel. Same with municipal court, no change in those categories either. Parks and recreation and personnel and fixed assets, we did add a new parks maintenance technician 1. We reclassed 2 maintenance tech 1s to maintenance tech 2s. We continued with the Avance skid steer, which is a continued lease. We continued with the turf tank marker with that lease. This is the last year of that. We did add a UTV carry-all. We included the resurfacing of the Fritz tennis court. And we did not, in 27, include the pressure washer and trailer. However, with potential savings from 26, we will bring amendment forth to council to purchase that in this year's budget. So that will be coming forth in August.
I have a quick question. And this general, on anything that we have a leased apparatus or service, how often do we go back and look at the payback and return on investment of leasing versus purchasing, and then also the longevity of the maintenance of that? So is that something, well, I'm sure that's something you do every year, so
Yes, that's something we look at every year. With these, they're already in a contract with the lease, so they'll expire, but as new ones come up, we do evaluate those.
okay, thank you.
Yeah, that's a good point. If you could share that with us, because we're replacing a 20-year-old truck in one of the departments. And, I mean, we're a fairly small city, so I do wonder sometimes if it's like a police car, I could see the wear and tear on those vehicles. It probably wouldn't make it past what we're leasing them for. But then if you have one that they're putting 10,000 miles a year on and we're leasing that, maybe that's one where we say, you know what, it's better to purchase this vehicle because it's going to get 10 to 15 years out of it because it's not being used all the time. Or like some of this, like an Avant skid steer. I don't know exactly what a skid steer is, but if you're leasing for $5,000 a year and it's a $200,000 piece of equipment, I get it.
A lawnmower.
But I like to make, that's a lawnmower?
So you just stand on the back?
No,
No, not,
Bobcat.
Oh, but if it's something to where, and then I'd also like to look at, do we always need to be buying the brand new equipment if we do go to purchase? Can we, because some of this, I remember years ago, we had a debate on dump trucks. We before all you over here, we were looking at making our own road department and starting to bid jobs. If you can imagine, the idea was the city of Hutto would bid jobs outside of the city of Hutto because we were going to be that efficient at building roads. And so the council at that time bought millions of dollars worth of equipment, dump trucks, and everything to build roads all over the place, only to then run out of money, lay everybody off, and have to sell it all. And then we would turn around the next year and wanted to buy another dump truck. And we were like, we just sold dump trucks. What the hell are we doing with all these dump trucks? And it was one department not working with another. And we were like, can we buy a used dump truck? Like, how much use gets out of these things? Do we always have to buy a brand new? So I'd like us to look at that to where some things I think need to be brand new. And then some things for employee morale, you don't want to give an employee and go, congratulations, you're now in a 220,000 mile car that's 20 years old. But then if you're using an item, if the hours used, I don't want to say street sweeper, but I would like to know how many miles are on that. But if you have something like that, it's not used a lot, maybe that could be used a little bit, but that's a good point you brought up.
We can provide that, since those come up. Operationally, we did add a second summer camp. That will increase, raising the rates that we charge for those participants, but that will be brought forth, and we will discuss that in a little more detail. We are doing pond maintenance, and we are replacing 2 vehicles here, or 1, excuse me. Within the police department, under under personnel and fixed assets, we have a new position, an administrative assistant. We are reclassing a police officer to CIT corporal. We have replacement of 6 vehicles with upfitting cost. We did add the special response team van. We included the cell phone extraction software. We also included iPro in-car camera system. And we recently added since June was the replacement of a K9.
so for the council and for the public, y'all may not be aware of this, but Rocket encountered an injury, a tendon tear, and we're going to be arranging for him to have surgery, but that will effectively retire him from serving in his role. So this just happened, so we moved money around to be able to allow for his role to be able to be replaced with another K9 unit.
Rocket 2.0. Okay.
Sad to hear.
Okay, so operationally, we've added the e-citation device. We've increased the fee for the dispatch. And again, we're replacing 6 interceptors with Tahoes. Strategic operations, personnel and fixed assets, we've added a new position, the strategic performance analysis analyst, Operationally, no changes. Streets and drainage, personnel and fixed assets, we've reclassed a crew leader to street drainage supervisor. They asked for a new position, a compliance specialist, which was not funded. We have a continued lease on the drum roller and seal equipment, which will continue. They did ask for a digital message board, which was not included in the 27 budget, but as speaking prior on the parks item, this one we will fund out of the 26 savings that we have, and that will be brought back to council as a budget amendment for 26.
Is that the reason for the asterisk?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So I wouldn't forget to bring that up. Operationally, we've increased street maintenance and we increased the street light cost.
I'd love to see the strategic performance analyst just move over to the city manager's department. I don't know why it bothers me there's a department with one person. But just something I'd like us to look at is how do we collapse everything, because eventually that person's then going to be a manager or director again. And to me, if they're doing stuff for you, they ought to just, but I don't know exactly what the,
Okay, we can look at that.
So that's running through all the departments in total. You can see your total revenues there, a little over 37.3. I need more coffee. Expenditures at 37,286,806, actually increasing your fund balance by 14,320. That leaves your fund balance at 10,940,904. And you exceed your reserve requirement of 9,188,577, and you have a percentage of about 30%.
Okay.
Moving to the utility fund.
Alberto, the statutory requirement though for reserve is 10%, and the
Our
council,
charter is 10%. Standard practice is 25%,
and then council targeted 30.
and you're targeting us at 30%. So the budget as it's presented is at the 30%.
yeah, and I think our finance policy is 20%, right?
It's 25.
Oh, it's 25.
We started at 20, and then you changed it last
Yeah.
year or the year before to 25.
But arguably, policies, as y'all well know, can be amended or changed. The charter cannot, unless you go to the voters. So the 10% is the hard number. The 25% is the number y'all elected in policy, and then you targeted 30. So now we've been able to reach 30.
Yeah, if I remember right, by a city that, I want to say that reserves have somewhat of an effect on your borrowing rates.
100% they do. Yeah, your ability to have cash available to make payments. Yes.
You can get it too high and start losing benefit, but you can have
Yes.
it too low and, okay.
Yes. You get it too high, and they start asking why you're borrowing money whenever you can.
We've been there before.
Yeah.
Coming
yeah.
out of COVID, we had that exact problem. We tried to borrow money and they were like, you're at 100% something in reserves. Why are you asking us for money?
Yeah.
Utility fund, pretty much the same scenario as the general fund. I guess the big difference here is this budget is based on no increase to utility rates. We've got all the same benefits, increased our fuel cost, added certification pay. Here we're replacing 2 vehicles, and we're funding a full year of recharge expense in the 27 budget. The current vacancies within the utility fund are these positions here. The 2 vehicles that we're replacing, one is in utility billing and one is in utility operations. Same as the present presentation. Okay, for Public Works Administration, there was a request for an ADA compliant office trailer. That was not funded in fixed assets. Operationally, we did increase postage for consumer confidence report, and we added a demographic study. Utility billing, there was no changes to personnel and fixed assets. Operationally, we did increase the meter endpoint replacements. We are completing the meter change-out program. We'll have about 70% completed this year by the end of September. We'll finish the rest the first quarter or so of next year. And we are replacing 1 vehicle within utility billing.
When you guys say replace vehicles, that's looking at leasing, right?
Yes.
Okay.
The utility operations for personnel and fixed assets, here's replacement. I'm sorry, we have a continued lease with the 550 and Crane lease. We have sewer camera inspection lease that's continuing, and we did reclass 2 utility techs to utility
Tech 2s.
tech 2s. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Operationally, we increased the Brazos River Authority expense to include a grit auger, which is part of the capital outlay, so that affects the O&M. increased recharge hold and CPI adjustment, reduced water lease payments, and replaced a lease vehicle. So in summary, for the utility fund, again, your revenues over expenditures are just shy of $12,000. Our estimated fund balance at 9/30/27 will be $15,442,761. Our 25% reserve requirement is $11,676,989, and you have a percentage of about 33% in the utility fund.
Alberta, is it next year that you project the balance of the utility fund hitting its low before it starts to recover?
Yes, sir.
So even though it's at 33% right now, we're anticipating next year the reserve being dropping because we're still in that phase of, if we're not going to increase rates, now we're drawing down the reserve until the growth allows that curve to start back up, hopefully. So if we do continue to have decreased development in the community, we're going to have to revisit that.
That's why I said at the last meeting,
I know.
whatever the city council has to do, whatever the EDC, the economic development, the planning department, the engineering department, I'm not saying we lower standards and we just let people do willy-nilly, but we've got to start focusing, because like if I hear about all this development that's backlogged trying to get through our system, and then I'm being asked to raise taxes to get people raises, then the first thing I would say is, well, I've gone without getting a raise before, and so I'm not going to raise people's taxes when we have new taxpayers trying to get into the system. We got to figure out how to get them through our system faster and make sure they build great things that are being done on their dime and do that faster. And it's not trying to be tough with people. It's just, I don't know anybody up here that's got the willpower to pop people's taxes when gas is $4 a gallon and inflation's still out of control, and they're still mad that their tax bills are high, even though we haven't raised taxes in like 5 years or 4 years, but they still think we're doing it.
So just as a refresher from a prior discussion, when we talked about the long-range budget for the utility fund, I just want to remind the council that you did approve to transfer a little over $6.3 million from EDC to the utility fund. So that is what has prolonged the fund balance that James was referring to out for a year or two.
You guys are doing good as staff. I mean, if you really think about it, you know, we're late here for an hour, I mean, with the ESD. We're expressing to them like, look, we see the future. There's a lot of things we got to get done and we got to get developed, and how that's hamstringing us. And then we got to go through, and then we got the governor's stuff that's coming through potentially. And we're navigating all of this in an effort to at least be stable, because I think I'm the last person up here. Jeff was here for the layoffs, but I don't think anybody else is here. That's the most horrific thing I could see, and I'm afraid other cities are going to have an issue if the governor passes a deal like he's proposing. I don't know how cities operate, and here we've been running lean, and now we're going to be running standard, where they're all going to have to figure out how to all of a sudden not have all the things they had because they're about to get slapped.
Okay, so the next and final slide is our update, our calendar, some key dates. August 13th, council meeting is where we'll need to discuss our tax rate, take a record vote, and schedule our public hearings. Tentatively looking at what that would be, your first public hearing would be held on September 3rd. And then on September 10th would be your second public hearing with the meeting to adopt the budget and the tax rate. And as a reminder, you're probably tired of me saying it, your budget has to be adopted before you adopt your tax rate. I know it seems it should be the other way, but your budget has to be first.
It should be.
And just so I can remember, and the new people that are on the council, the August 13th vote, that is a not to exceed tax rate.
Correct.
So you can do the max and then always come down lower.
Correct.
But you can't go higher.
Right. And then the September 3rd one, if you're adopting a budget that is no new revenue, you don't have to do public hearings after that.
You only have to do the one.
The one, and then you're done, which then negates the September 10th
Correct.
Which we wouldn't have to do, which is kind of that note, if it's not adopted at September 3rd, then you'd have your second meeting on the 10th.
Yeah, any increase to the tax rate above no new revenue requires the two public hearings, two readings. And that's why you have the 3rd and the 10th. So if we adopt no new revenue on the 3rd, then we don't have the 10th meeting.
I can go on vacation then.
Look, I did my job.
Yeah,
so
that's right.
Now she's like, the next question, any priorities not seen? Well, if you want one, just know that, well, any priorities anybody didn't see?
I had an obscure question as usual. It was back on the TSTC, I think it was 125K.
Yes, sir.
Is that something that's a fixed rate for TSC? I'm in support of TSTC, so I don't want to have this misunderstood. But is that something we do every year, or is that escalating?
It's a contractual commitment for 125,000. It was higher because there was some period of non-payment, and we amortized
to
that.
make up.
We amortized that, I guess would be the right way of saying that. We spread it out over a number of years.
Right.
We completed that one last year, so now we're down to 125 for the remainder of the contract.
Okay, good. That's it. Thank you.
And that's not just the city, that's the city, the EDC, and the ISD all pay that yearly.
Right, but not in the 125. They do in addition to the 125.
Right, it's all, I
yeah.
think each one, I think
Right.
EDC is 125 too, right? I think we all pay,
So it's hundreds of thousands of, several hundred thousand. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's great. I like that. Thank you.
my only thing I have is just a question, if you guys can give us, not today, but if you can give us some anticipated projections on the skybox, because with them, we're not seeing, it doesn't look like we're budgeting a lot of them, and I don't want us to get crazy with the forecast, but it doesn't sound like we're budgeting a lot of value growth next year, but they're supposed to be moving equipment in. I know they're behind, but I want to say building 1 is in the process of being equipped, with 2 about to be equipped, and 3 under construction. So any kind of, and maybe we need to reach out to those guys and kind of verify where they're at so that we can.
Well, so that would impact next year's tax rate, not this one, because this one's already locked in and certified.
No, I got you, because
Okay,
it's what you have in on January 1st of this year is for next year's money.
Yes. So we would be, in anything that we would do in that regard would be us thinking about what we're going to do budget-wise in 27,
Right,
28.
it just helps me then be able to look at employees and go, okay, look, this particular item you really want, if you can wait one more year,
Yep.
this is where we're seeing significant growth coming in property value.
Okay.
Whereas if we just have 2% every year, then that's another thing.
Yeah, I can maybe hit some of the high points on that we looked at. So the values for the real property are right about 255 million for 26, which is what's certified. This year, for the first time, we hit almost 11 million for computers that they put in. My understanding is they've got building 1 and 2, and I think they're starting on 3. Dan can probably correct me if I'm saying that wrong. So this is the first year coming up that we're gonna have anything from the 11 billion for computers. But that's not gonna generate anything, and they haven't actually filed for their waiver. I'm probably not using the right word for that. But I'm sure they don't wanna do it yet because not all their business personal property is in place. So once it becomes more valuable, then they'll put that waiver on. So what we proposed in the TERS 3 budget that you'll see in there, for TERS 3, we are using about 225,000 to go to the utility fund to help offset principal interest on the mega site borrowing. For the skybox, for the business personal property, this year, again, like James said, you're not gonna see it because it's only 11 million. It's only generating about 42,000. We do anticipate that to increase in '28. So then we'll start seeing the revenues from those values. And we've got that kind of earmarked for two things. One, helping reimburse for the mega site to the utility fund to help reduce or maintain our utility rates, I should say, not reduce, but at least maintain them. And then capital improvement projects. So instead of borrowing, like in this case where we're having to borrow for streets, the idea is that it will generate enough revenues that we will not have to go out and borrow for those projects. So.
Quick question, is there any ability to allow or have or request Skybox to provide some projections on their potential? I know there may be confidentialities, and if they say no, I understand that, but have we reached out to see what maybe their plans are?
I think that's a Cheney question.
Okay. Financial Officer Cheney of the E EDC.
Thank you for the question, Cheney Yeboah, Director of Economic Development. So we have received some updated estimates, and you're exactly right, there are some confidentiality things related to committing to certain dollar amounts. But we do have those estimates, and so we share those with finance as we get them. The last update I had is that there was no update to the previous numbers that had been provided.
How often do you query them, or is it quarterly or something like that, or once a year?
No, since there hasn't been equipment actually rolled in as of yet that would be of interest to us to better estimate. I think the last time that we got updated numbers was in the spring of this year. I ask all the time about when that inventory is going into those buildings. But as far as updating numbers, I think the last set that we got was effectively the same set we had before, but that was in the spring. So I anticipate that they'll have some more realistic numbers that they might be able to share, more realistic estimates later this fall or towards the end of the year once building 1 and 2 start receiving their inventories.
All the time is better than quarterly, so thank you.
Sure.
And that does bring up a question. If we can look at what it would cost to have someone that, I don't know what to call it, verifies the information they give us from a taxing standpoint to where whatever that cost is budgeted, to where we can look at it to where come in say February of next year, and however they do it, where they verify that, yeah, we agree with their number, because if they shave off $500 million in value, that could be an accident on their part, and we may be able to catch that.
Yeah, typically so far what we've done is when we originally ask for those numbers, those estimates, we do run that through the county as well, since they're the ones that are going to be assessing it. And since the county does have existing data centers that they're able to compare against. So if you'd like somebody additional, we can look into that, but so far our process has been to just ensure that the county is looped into those numbers when we receive them to verify.
Yeah, I think for me, at least to know what it would cost to have an independent person, because the county, I'm not the most trusting of everything that they're doing over there.
Timely.
Because if they did all that correctly, we wouldn't have all these protests that are happening, so. But yeah, you guys may come back and say it's $100,000 to verify. Yeah, it's probably not worth it. Or it's 15 grand. We can have an independent that may be worth verifying that. I don't know.
So Christina notes that we currently use Capital Appraisal Group for valuation of complex properties, such as data centers. And they're basically used by appraisal districts too. So we basically already have a consultant.
Okay.
So we can have a specific report on this project, I think, prepared.
Yeah, I don't want to say I don't trust them, but I don't trust
Reach
them.
out to the appraisal district and
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't read the rest of the comment.
Oh,
From Alvin Lankford.
yeah, they coordinate.
So it's the appraisal district is using the third party for the data center
yeah, just
valuation.
us to look in and see, because again, I don't know how good they're doing. And when we start relying on other people that are relying on other people, what I don't want to see is us come back and go, man, they got us for $1 billion. We didn't even know it.
Sure.
But anyway.
We were actually warned about that early on, remember?
Oh, yeah, and that's what Dan and I have been talking about before, is that's why we're so interested in the value when it's coming, because you're promised a bunch, you do the agreements, and meanwhile, these people are getting paid millions of dollars a year to figure out how to circumvent all the rules they just agreed to do. And we just need the people to find out how they're going to do it and catch them. And then when we redo the agreement that they're going to want in the future, we close all the loopholes.
So are you going to be satisfied if we have Capital Appraisal Group provide us the same information that they're given to the county? Or do you want yet another third party on top of that?
To me, I'd like to see someone who's specialized, not who just does complex things, but I know data centers. And I know that these people are lying to you right now because they have so many racks, and in those racks, because if you go talk to a developer, they can tell you by the size of the building, just instantly, how many parking spots they need, how much land they need, because that's the one thing they do. But if you ask them about apartments, it'd blow their mind, they wouldn't know. And so maybe someone that's specialized, again, I don't know what the cost of this is. I don't even know if it exists yet.
Okay.
I don't know, what do you guys think? Am I crazy?
I agree. I mean,
At least just to see what it looks like.
go ahead, Dan.
I was just gonna say, I think seeing what these guys have is a good starting point. I mean, I agree, we may need somebody else, but we should probably look at what they have first.
Yeah, I mean, when we're making estimations and projections, which is not really a data point, it's a cloud, it's a window of range of this and that. So they're going to be estimations. So it's not, we can't make big policy changes except on the floor of that and not go to the ceiling. But more important to that is the integrity, and I don't mean a illegal integrity, but we need to have the integrity of the sources, because we're going to be making estimations of this. It's a single, we're looking at a single data point, but we can't make decisions on that. So I think it's extremely important we have integrity and understanding and longstanding production of giving accurate, valid reports, and also referencing how they do that create that data and what their sources are. So I think it's an extremely valid point that having good integrity and who's giving us the data.
And it could help us with negotiations for future data centers. And also, if we think about it, one company has potential to be 2/3 of our entire city's value is wrapped up in one company, which is, to me, extremely scary. But if they do well, that's extremely beneficial, assuming they don't find a way to get us. But
So I want to point out, I mean, it's important that we capture the full value of what they have in there and don't let them get away with anything. That's very important. But as far as budgeting and planning goes, we really need to look at this the way we look at the hot funds, where we wait until we have the money and then we decide what we can spend. Because it's going to differ every year because of depreciation, because a contract's going to change, somebody's going to move out, somebody's going to move in. So those valuations are going to go up and down dramatically sometimes, and we can't plan future stuff based on that. We have to spend that money after it comes in, almost like it was found money.
I agree with that. I think what we talked about in previous councils is the use of money as almost like just cash, to do projects in cash, not to, I hope future councils take what we did, not to go out and borrow 30-year debt based on 1 year's worth of money, because like Dan's saying, I want to say, wasn't it like a 3-year, Dan, a 3-year depreciation on the equipment?
Yes.
And so it could be
Yeah,
$11
a
billion.
lot of times, and that can differ too. I mean, different companies may have different schedules too.
Right. So potentially you got $11 billion in value today. Next year you have $7.5 billion. So you just lost $2.5 billion in valuation. You didn't do anything. So if we start hiring people and borrowing debt based on valuations, then Alberta's got to figure out how to make up. I mean, we had a drop this year, but if she had to take $2.5 billion off the rolls for next year, I mean, we don't even know what that's going to do to our budget yet. It's going to be crazy next year.
Well, it wouldn't do anything to the budget at no new revenue. It would just really, really suck for everybody who pays taxes here.
Well, yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
And we're not, we're not seeing 11 million in revenue. We're seeing 11 million in value right now.
Correct.
Right,
So,
42,000.
right.
yeah. So,
Yeah, to Councilmember Thornton's point, I mean, effectively, that is what we're doing right now, but there is nothing, to the mayor's point, that prohibits future councils from choosing to behave differently. That's right. So we're taking the cash that we know that we will receive based off of certified values, and then we're using that to put toward debt service payments, not issue debt against,
Right.
but to put toward debt service payments, so that way the utility fund has the relief. But if that money wasn't there, then the utility fund would have to make the payments. So,
I have a question. So first of all, I appreciate Dan's comment about how we anticipate the money and when we plan to spend it. I think that's pretty smart, especially as we're entering this new era of the possibility of a lot of revenue coming in from data centers. But moving back a little bit, I was interested in what the mayor was saying about what type of protections, or should we be looking at additional types of checks and balances that we should have for this type of business that comes into our city? Because now this is new information for me as I'm learning this process, but it sounds like we don't have a fully vetted, thought out system for making sure that what the information that we're receiving is valid and that it's true. Like, I just want to spend a little more time, if we can, discussing, I don't know if it comes from Cheney's side, but how do we make sure that the information we're getting from these type of developments and operations are true and valid? And what's the checks and balances system look like to make sure that those numbers are real and that we can have that type of integrity as the information comes in?
Yeah, and so really, I mean, it's the county that does all that today. And so we're relying on them. The way it's working right now, we're relying on them to do all that due diligence and make sure that whoever they hire to help them is doing it correctly. And we're basically saying we're not 100% comfortable with that, and we want to get in there and potentially help to improve that if it needs improvement, but we definitely at least want to understand it, and we don't yet. So I think that's where we are right now.
Yeah, thank you for that, Dan. Is that something that we are initiating, that we start doing or looking into?
I mean, I think that's kind of the question of how do we do that? What's the right approach?
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping, Councilmember, is just us to understand what it would cost to do that and have that second look. And then for us to then to decide, is that worth pursuing and having that?
I think it may be, because I remember something I am aware of is when we asked the state, and this was actually when Kelly Hancock came and visited our city budget. I'm sorry, our city chambers meeting. I specifically asked him what the state had in place to guarantee that these data center developments were producing a true net positive for communities like ours. And at the state level, they didn't have anything really in place. And so it comes down, sounds like, to the county level. And then there's another gap there between the county level and then what happens with the city and what type of checks and balances or models we have in place or safety nets we have in place. So I think it is something that is worth continuing a conversation around and pursuing. I don't know where that falls in responsibilities and roles, but I do think it is a very worthwhile initiative that we look at as a city, because they're going to continue to try to come into our community. And we should be able to have more confidence in that this is going to be a true net positive for us, whether it's because we have our own system of checking in or because we reorganize the requirements and maybe even the coding and contracts around these type of developments.
Right. So is there any other budget-related items that we'd like them to look at? Right. Can't ask to spend very little and then ask for a whole bunch of stuff to throw in there. Sorry, Jim, we already moved on.
I just, and maybe this is more for city manager, we had that ADA compliance person come from, I guess that was TxDOT, and we're looking at, I think, $7 million over a 2 or 3 or 4 year period. Is that we have this in our budget? It's just what's in one of the subtopics?
I think it's in our CIP. I think we have $500,000 in ADA
That's correct.
sidewalk that's already
It's-
in our.
It's effectively the money that we were identifying for sidewalk construction
I
and
remember now.
repairs.
I remember now.
We're putting that toward the ADA plan.
Great. That's it. Thank you.
Is that it for us? We
That
can
is
fill
it.
the next hour if you want us to.
Well, we did get the, the budget book produced and out. Of course, like every year, there's going to be errors and things that we find in it because it's a very, very large document. So we'll be cleaning that up, and as we do, we'll do version control. So y'all will need to be paying attention to make sure that whenever we upload a new version, that you are using the most up-to-date version, and that will not be changing anything that we propose, but it will be cleaning up, the formatting errors and that sort of stuff.
So with that, this may sound like a lot of work, but I'm glad you brought that up because in the years past, it seems like I print a budget because I'll do the PDF. I can't, it's funny, when you print it, it comes out differently than when you're online. And so I print it, and then like a couple of us will meet, and then you guys will do an update, and then like things change, and I'm like, and how do I know the difference? So when you guys do an update, can you make it a PDF, print it on our website with whatever version one?
Yes, sir.
And if we have 40 versions, so be it, but at least then we can look and see,
Yes, sir.
because I get really confused by the end.
Yeah. So I wouldn't print this one because we'll be cleaning it up this next week. I would wait
Okay.
to print
Yeah.
it.
And then one other thing, since I guess now there is no more presentation, which is now is to discuss issues or things we have, or do you guys have more?
No, that's it. It's up to
Okay,
y'all now.
there's something that came up to us regarding, I don't understand it exactly, but something to do with retirement. Something changed with retirement that affects a couple people, and I don't know the specifics. But I think you guys know, either in HR and finance, but something changed, and it's some little number in a budget line a year or two ago. We passed it and made it, but if you guys could,
I think I know what you're talking about. So it's not retirement, it's the amount that the city has the retirees pay for insurance coverage if they elect to stay on the city's insurance before they become eligible for Medicare. So if you retire at 60 years old and you can't get Medicare until 65, then you could elect to stay on the city's health insurance but pay a premium to continue to be covered. That's the only thing that I'm aware of that has anything to do with retirement. And I've already directed staff for us to go out and price what the insurance would cost, basically, if you were just doing it on your own, or if we were going to buy insurance and allow that to still be a benefit, to determine if what we're charging is more than that number or less than that number. And then that way the council can then decide if they want to continue to offer that benefit, or if they want to underwrite it more, or if they want to say, hey, we'll give some money toward it, but you guys are going to have to pick up the bulk of the price, all that sort of stuff.
What did it change from, though?
From not having it to it's 150% right now of what the employee would pay for coverage, what the city pays for the employee to cover. If you're going to elect to have, it's basically like discounted COBRA is basically what it is.
okay, as a recent retiree, I have to, if I want to stay on my employer's rate, I pay whatever it costs them for me to be on there,
Yes.
which should be, because they have 40,000 employees, they should be, theoretically, I guess, they're getting it cheaper than if I just went out on my own and said, I'd like to buy for a family of four.
Yes.
And so if we're paying, and let's say the cost is $1,000 per employee a month,
Yes.
and we're saying you have to pay more than 1,000, personally, I would not be in favor of that, because
That's
then
fine.
costs us,
That is how it is right now.
that we charge them more.
We charge them more.
Because what's the incentive?
I
to
wouldn't
retire?
be in favor of that, because that's almost like you're making money off of them. But I also would not be in favor of, if it costs us 1,000, and we say, hey, we appreciate everything you did for us, we're only gonna charge you 500, because then I would say, well,
Everybody's gonna.
you have to plan for retirement too. So there's probably a middle, but yeah, if we're having them pay excess, I guess I'd like to know how much that is.
Yep, that's why I asked staff to go ahead and
Because
do.
it may sound like a lot, and you're like, well, hey, it's only $100 a month. I mean, it's it.
Yeah.
But if it's like 1,500, like I'm not going to do eye insurance anymore because for whatever reason, VSP is $1,000 a month to continue that. I'm like,
$1,000 a month for eye insurance?
yes.
Yeah, that's
So
ridiculous.
We're all like, we're the retirees at my company bail on the eye insurance because for whatever reason, it's heavily subsidized by the company as an add-on to the overall plan. And so we're just going to stick with our plan. But so as soon as I heard that, I was like, yeah, that's an interesting thing going through that to where,
Yeah, because then what's the incentive for the employee to want to stay for 25 years and then retire, right?
Well, they can stay and retire at 65 and go straight into Medicare. It's only the people who would be retiring before Medicare eligibility that are going to want to have some sort of insurance coverage until they can get to Medicare. So
but again, we're probably talking right now, we may be talking a few employees.
it's a small number of
Small
people.
number, but we always have to plan for, because hopefully no one here quits until they're 65 or 50 or whatever and they retire.
I had a conversation with David on this about it last week as well. So he said he'd look into it.
That's the only thing retirement related I can think of, because like actual retirement, that hasn't changed except for the better, because we are putting in the ability for people who have previous service from another city that they cashed out or whatever to be able to put that money back in. Other than that, it's exactly the same. It's still 7% and so on and so forth.
No, that was it. And I just say, I know the employees, I know everybody here's the director, so you guys have people below you, but I know it seems like the past few years have been tight. I really hope that with the data center, the Taiwanese company that's coming in, and some other big projects over the next year or two, we'll see a lot of these investments that were made. We'll see that come back to where now it won't be, we're still going to scrutinize every penny because we still have sidewalks to catch up and all these things, but then it won't be like, you know what? Instead of them asking, why are you getting a 2027 F-150? Why can't you get a used 2025? It's like, you know what? Because you guys have been very reasonable in the budget year. Your guys' asks are more and getting more like needs and not wants. And so we talked today, literally before the meeting, about a library, for instance, Chris, and we were literally talking about the things we can't do if we don't get some of these agreements done. And so we're fighting not for things today, we're literally fighting about things tomorrow, knowing these are the needs that we see coming. And so we're not just trying to be tough up here, we're really, and a lot of conversations I have with the city manager are always about, well, after I'm gone and other people up here are gone, it's how do we make sure, if you guys are going to be here and spend 20 years here, how do we make sure we don't cheat the system today for an easy win, and then 5 years from now, we just do what they do in the federal government and blame the next group of people. We want the next group of people to be like, man, they left us in a good position. So I know it's been tough, and I hope this is last year we're really scrutinizing every nickel. But it's a hell of a lot better than it was in 2020, I can tell you that.
Thank you. Council, I would very much like to take this opportunity, and I know it's their job, but that's not the point, to thank the budget team, all the staff who put in hours and hours and hours, because even though it's their job all year long, this is a very big lift at this time of year. And Braden specifically, our budget analyst, is that your title? Coordinator. He and his significant other are moving up to Chicago. So he's going to be leaving us, and we're very sad to see him go. He's become exceptionally proficient. He's been a huge addition to the team, and a lot of the simplicity has been because of Alberta. The simplicity of the budget has been because of Alberta and Braden and Christina directly. Lots of others have put in time, but so thank y'all.
I second the motion. A round of applause for everyone. And all the assisting staff and everything, the EDC, even Parks over there. But, library, this takes a big union of the coordinators and the finance and EDC, but everybody has an input in this, even IT, law enforcement, But so it is a team effort, and I applaud the city manager for creating this team and letting this team do what it does best. And letting us get out of the way and let the experts run the show. Thank you.
So if I could just add, James stole my thunder. So I just wanted to thank everybody, starting from department heads to the executive team, my staff, of course, Christina, Braden, again, he's done such a wonderful job with ClearGov and the understanding and helping all the departments with how it works and helping with the budget. So we're truly gonna miss him. And Nick has been a good addition to us as well in helping with the budget. So just wanted to thank everybody. Me personally, I want to thank Kate and James, because without them, I don't know, we might not have been where we are today, but we thank everybody, so.
Are you tearing up for me? Oh, okay.
Said something in the throat.
I was like, man, you better go capture the Alberta tears.
I have tissue. I have tissue.
It was allergies. Allergies.
All right, you guys want to adjourn? Or you guys, anything else you want to talk about?
What's that?
Yeah, we will adjourn at 11:17.
I don't think he wants to. I think he wants to leave it open.